So this is the story time of how I left Harvard my senior fall because I genuinely thought I was going to myself. I saw a video that came across my For You page earlier today that was this man who was responding to this woman who said that she was only letting her kids pick out of 4 majors because she looks at college as a white-collar trade school. I can understand her perspective, but I think my story ties into the disservice that parents and students themselves do to themselves when they don't think about what misalignment in your college journey can actually result in. I came into college as a first-gen low-income student, had graduated from valedictorian of my high school, won all the scholarships you could imagine, and then got to college and my mental health absolutely plummeted. And for a number of different reasons, and I can make separate videos talking about that. But I'm gonna do a quick run through of what brought us to senior fall. I go in, I think I'm gonna study CS. I feel like I have to study either CS or econ because my dad thinks econ will lead me to a good financial job. I can be an accountant later, or maybe I'll just go into the financial industry. Or I can do CS because tech is kind of like 2016, tech is like on the up and up. There's a lot of buzz and excitement around it. And I also have a scholarship, the Gates Scholarship, which if I decide to do grad school will support me in doing like a technical field. So in my mind, that is all that I have to choose between. I get to my CS course, my first couple years, I am struggling, I'm fighting for my life, I'm crying, I'm staying up all hours of the night. College in and of itself is already like psychological warfare anyway, right? Like college is hard. That is just a fact. I don't feel like I can really do anything beyond these two. So that's really all my focus is on, is bouncing between CS and going back to econ. I hate both of them. Cool. I keep up with this trajectory, my first year, my second year, my third year. Eventually, it is my junior spring. And like the man in this video addresses, with having seniors come to him who are utterly frustrated with the journey that they've gone on and want to switch or do something different, that is exactly what I experienced, where it was my junior spring and I hated everything about my journey so far. How much I had struggled, how unfulfilled I had felt throughout my courses, and looking around at my peers who'd gotten to not only learn the foundations and get through the hard parts of their major, but then be on the other side where they're actually able to enjoy and be enriched by what they're studying. I felt robbed of my experience. And I started frantically trying to make a plan to catch up on some aspects of my college journey. So I wanted to just leave it all behind. I wanted to switch to, I was going to do Gov and statistics because my Gov classes, I actually really enjoyed. My social studies classes, I had actually really enjoyed, but never let myself actually study those because I was going to either get in trouble or I was not going to be setting myself up for success. Not realizing that my friends who study those things, not only did they achieve the mastery, right, like he says, because there's alignment there in what they're studying, but when you are passionate and actually care about what you are studying, not only does it make it easier to get through the hard parts, but to actually get through the hard parts, get through the sacrifice, but then be able to position yourself for roles or opportunities that allow you to speak to the strengths of what you've been doing, as opposed to feeling like you're always playing catch up in a field that you hate and then having to kind of put on the front of convincing other people that you are still good at this, if that makes sense. So my senior year comes, or my junior year comes, it's the spring. I'm trying to convince my advisors that I can make this work, although I literally would have been suffering for the next semester and a half. And at that point, under the collapse and overwhelm of everything that I'd gone through, literally had a mental breakdown and then decided, hey, if I can't stay out of this major, if I'm gonna be stuck doing this bullshit, let me at least enjoy a semester abroad. So I leave Harvard my senior fall while everyone's doing their senior fall activities, and I bounce. I go to Paris, and that was me trying to take some control back of the experience that I had had in college so far. I'm glad that I didn't allow my mental health to deteriorate any further and that I decided to just like finish out the program and just give myself this other experience that would allow me to be fulfilled. Now, I would 100% say that I would have studied something different. And to the point that this gentleman makes, parents and students are robbing themselves of the opportunity that college is supposed to be, especially when they are a minority or first gen, or they are low income and they are feeling this mountain of burden. My perspective personally is that, yes, I'm the oldest child. Like, don't even get me started on what it means to feel like you're responsible and have to make sure that there is kind of a return on the investment that your community and your parents have put into you. But what I also realized throughout that journey and my mental health being the worst that it has ever been is that I really truly missed out on an opportunity to be able to engage my intellect in a way that would have done me justice throughout that process. I instead went with what I thought would be the safe route. But when you think about it, when you're already at these, either PWIs or these high stress universities, the curriculum is going to be great. The learning experience is going to be great. And although it might seem like there's certain fields that, you're not going to be able to get a job, I think the experience of being able to learn and master and be deeply invested in a topic will always outweigh skating around and drowning, kind of fun. Like, there's hard and then there's like it's not clicking, and drowning in a topic and feeling like you just have to continue going. Because when you then move on to your interviewing or your studying, or even if maybe you get through all that and you get a job, you're still going to arrive several years later at the conclusion of, what did I study this for? Why am I in this field? And you might have some of the resources to actually be able to make a pivot at that point, but the pivot will still necessarily need to happen. And that's why I just say, I think it's important as early as students can in their journey to be honest with themselves about what they care about. You can be strategic while still trying to work to align your passions and your intellect and your curiosity to benefit. I know college is not cheap. I had the privilege of having scholarships, but even with the scholarships that I had, I didn't feel like I could make a choice that best suited me. I was still trying to do what seemed outwardly best for my success. And I don't think that that is quite the way to go. Not to mention, when you're being forced to study something and your grades suck anyways, when you're applying to stuff, people are going to see those grades. That versus if you have like a high GPA in something that you actually really care about and can instead market the skills that you've learned. That's just my 2 cents.